Hi, this is Dizzy, and I'm going to talk about alexithymia. Alexithymia is a condition in which you cannot usually vocalize your emotions and your moods, and the word literally means no words for mood. So, this is often a symptom of another issue. Uh, the most common condition that a professional will likely label you with if they've noticed that you can't determine your own emotions is depression. Now, that's common, but it's not the only thing. So, being labeled with depression when you don't have it is not beneficial. It's common in all personality disorders, especially things like schizoid, that comes to mind. Anxiety disorders too, especially considering as you experience fear constantly, you disassociate. When you disassociate, you often leave your emotions back. So there's that. Also, the autism spectrum, well known for not knowing how we feel. Uh, it complicates things. Not that not knowing your emotions all the time is necessarily a bad thing because sometimes emotions just get in the way. But if you're dealing with mental health issues or emotional issues or life in general, clarity of thought is important in order for you to actually succeed in analyzing your own, you know, analyzing yourself basically, but analyzing where you stand, how you feel, and how to improve. Especially with negative emotions. I do believe those are highly important to understand the root of. And when you go to a professional like a psychiatrist or more likely a therapist who talks to you, a lot of the questions are revolved around, well, how does that make you feel? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about what your ex said to you or whatever? Or how do you feel about this new friendship? Uh, and you're sitting there going, I don't know. And the therapist doesn't really know what to do with that, and they may jump to conclusions, and then you end up getting treated for a disorder you don't have, or you leave the office feeling more confused than when you came in. My wet hair is driving me crazy, so sorry. Um, anyway, I think that knowing the words for your emotions and maybe repeating them or having a list of them to look at daily can help you reconnect with them. It's not comfortable all the time, but there are stages with emotions, and they range from being soft and having mood states and then the intense versions. So I'm going to list some emotions to you, and this is also great as a writer for me because it is if you're describing your characters as just happy or sad or feeling okay. That's what we like to call boring bad writing, and as an author, I like to avoid this. So let's start with anger. That one's fun. Soft anger. These are emotions such as annoyed, frustrated, cross, apathetic, peeved, irritated, cranky, crabby, bored, impatient, critical, cold, displeased, detached, and indifferent. And I actually had no idea that being detached and indifferent was a form of anger. Anger in its mood states. Angry, mad, offended, antagonized, sarcastic, aggravated, arrogant, indignant, inflamed, affronted, resentful, incensed, exasperated, and riled up. Intense anger. Hostile, aggressive, livid, outraged, furious, belligerent, disgusted, appalled, bitter, ranting, raving, contemptuous, hateful, vengeful, vindictive, violent, irate, menacing, seething, sadness, and spiteful. Many of these emotions come from smaller emotions that are combined. Keep that in mind. Then we can move on to sadness. That's always a fun one. It always gets the prettiest words. Regretful in its soft state. Regretful, disconnected, distracted, low, listless, and wistful. Sadness in its mood state. Sad, world weary, down, melancholy, mourning, weepy, grievy, glooming, dejected, downtrodden, heavy-hearted, forlorn, sorrowful, dispirited, and discouraged. And then intense sadness. Um, despairing, bleak, despondent, depressed, anguished, inconsolable, grief-stricken, hopeless, heartbroken, morose, and bereaved. These are emotions that are important to recognize if you do fall on the depressive scale, or if you have bipolar, um, or a personality disorder that often exists comorbid with emotional disorders. Fear, soft fear. Alert, hesitant, pensive, watchful, cautious, curious, leery, uneasy, doubtful, confused, apprehensive, shy, concerned, disquieted, timid, edgy, fidgety, disconcerted, insecure, indecisive, and disoriented. Fear in its mood states: fearful, afraid, suspicious, startled, unnerved, anxious, nervous, worried, alarmed, shaky, perturbed, aversive, wary, distrusted, rattled, unsettled, and jumpy. Then there's intense fear, and I think everyone experiences that at some point. Um, Terrorized, shocked, panicked, filled with dread, horrified, phobic, petrified, and paralyzed. Happiness. Happiness is important to understand because I think some people have talked themselves out of believing they can be happy. I also think it's important for people with disorders that involve mania, such as bipolar or um, really any mood disorder can come with mania. Um, and often, if you're on the spectrum, sometimes you'll go through bouts where you're super happy or really more energized, because I feel like if you're on the spectrum, you often operate more on an energy level than on an emotional level. I could be wrong. Soft happiness, smiling, upbeat, peaceful, calm, amused, um, friendly, open, encouraged, hopeful, and jovial. I didn't know jovial would be considered soft. I thought that was like super happy, but you know. Happiness in its mood states: happy, glad, content, optimistic, cheerful, joyful, satisfied, lively, delighted, rejuvenated, pleased, gratified, and gleeful. Intense happiness: elated, exhilarated, manic, giddy, euphoric, awe-filled, blissful, enthralled, rapturous, jubilant, ecstatic, and overjoyed. Shame and guilt. I don't have a lot of experience with these, nevertheless, they are important to understand. Soft shame. Hesitant, flushed, self-conscious, speechless, discomforted, awkward. I know about awkward. Humble, abashed, flustered, withdrawn. Shame in its mood states: ashamed, guilty, embarrassed, intimidated, penitent, regretful, remorseful, culpable, sheepish, rueful, contrite, and humbled. Intense shame. Humiliated, guilt-ridden, guilt-stricken, disgraced, stigmatized, mortified, self-condemning, self-flagellating, degraded, shameful, belittled, demeaned, and ostracized. I guess that can be a little relatable. Jealousy and envy. Soft jealousy, suspicious, insecure, distrustful, and protective. Protective. Mood state: jealousy and envy. Jealous, envious, covetous, threatened, demanding, devious. Intense jealousy and envy. Greedy, grasping, green with envy. Persistently jealous, possessive, resentful, threatened, and gluttonous. Glutton and jealousy. What an odd combination. Suicidal urges. This one is of top importance with people with alexithymia, because if you don't know you're feeling suicidal and then suddenly you start behaving on the emotions that you cannot quite understand, that becomes a threat to your life. Soft suicidal urges: depressed, dispirited, constantly irritated, angry, or enraged, helpless, impulsive, withdrawn, apathetic, lethargic, disinterested, pessimistic, purposeless, discouraged, feeling worthless, isolated, world-weary, humorless, listless, melancholy, flat, and indifferent. Mood state: suicidal, desperate, hopeless, despairing, morbid, sullen, desolate, miserable, overwhelmed, pleasureless, joyless, empty, passionless, crushed, and drained. Intense suicidal urges. Agonized, tormented, self-destructive, tortured, anguished, bleak, devastated, death-seeking, numbed, reckless, doomed, and nihilistic. You can be nihilistic and be happy, by the way. So that particular list, as far as the suicidal ones, those are often combinations of all of the other ones. Because usually with suicidal thoughts and suicidality, there is anger, sadness, fear, often for some people shame, and there can even be happiness. I know a lot of people keep suicide in their back pocket. If something goes wrong, always jump in front of the train, take that bottle of pills you've been saving up. So I know that if you have alexithymia, maybe work on recognizing emotions, even from a writer perspective, even if you don't write. Uh, make an idea of yourself as a character. Even draw a stick figure. This is me as a character. What does my character feel? Is my character, make a list, print a list, put it on your refrigerator, look at it every day. What is that character? What is that stick figure or fabulous drawing if you're an artist also? What does that stick figure of me feel? What's he think about the fact that I only have one apple in the fridge? Stuff like that. Get a little bit more in tune because you cannot appropriately manage your emotions without understanding them. As horrendous and dull as it can be to deal with emotions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. Feel free to donate to my PayPal one time. I will post a link in the description. I hope everyone is prepared for a great weekend. Thank you.